Stress surrounds us like a constant hum, a background noise to modern life. Yet there is a way to transform that noise into a profound quiet. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The mind adapts and converts to its own purposes the obstacle to our acting." The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. This is the core promise of Stoicism. It offers a thoughtful framework, a set of mental disciplines that help reshape your response to pressure. We will explore how principles like the dichotomy of control, cognitive reframing, and virtuous action are not just abstract ideas but practical tools for building lasting tranquility. How does a philosophy from ancient Rome hold the key to quieting a 21st century mind? What if the key to reducing stress is not changing your circumstances, but changing what you focus on within them? This is the heart of the first and most critical Stoic principle, the dichotomy of control. It is the practice of making a clear and conscious separation between what is within our power and what is not. The Stoic teacher Epictetus opens his handbook with this very idea, writing, "Some things are within our power, while others are not. Within our power are opinion, motivation, desire, aversion. Not within our power are our body, our property, our reputation, our public office." He draws a very clear and direct line. Your power lies solely in your inner world, your judgments, your choices, and your efforts. Everything else, from the weather to what your boss thinks of you, belongs to the realm of the external. This is not a suggestion, but a fundamental law of mental peace. To struggle against what you cannot influence is to invite ongoing frustration. To focus your energy only on what you can shape is to find an immediate and profound sense of agency. Consider a common work situation, a missed project deadline. The external factors, the things outside your control, might include a last-minute request from your manager, a colleague's delay, or even a sudden technical problem. The internal territory, your domain, encompasses your response. You control the effort you put into catching up, your decision to communicate the delay clearly, and your choice not to spiral into self-criticism or blame. By applying this simple filter, you drain the situation of its chaotic energy. The challenge does not disappear, but your relationship to it transforms entirely. You stop wrestling with immovable objects and start directing your strength where it actually matters. So what is one recurring stress in your life where applying this filter could immediately reduce your anxiety? Yet this powerful distinction is only the beginning. The real transformation happens in the space between an event and your reaction. A critical email arrives and your stomach tightens. A plan falls apart and frustration surges. The Stoics observed that our distress rarely comes from the event itself, but from the initial story we layer on top of it. This is where the second principle, the art of objective perception, enters the frame. The ancient Greeks called this practice phantasia cataleptic, which translates to an accurate, graspable impression. It is the disciplined act of seeing a thing for exactly what it is, in its raw, factual state, before your mind has the chance to label it as a catastrophe or an injustice. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself of this in his private writings, urging, "Do not elaborate, do not add to the story, see the thing for what it is and nothing more." You are not seeing a personal attack in a colleague's terse message. You are seeing a collection of words on a screen. You are not experiencing a ruined day when it rains on your day off. You are experiencing a change in weather patterns. The initial sting, the flush of heat, that is the automatic judgment. It feels instantaneous, but there is a sliver of a moment, a gap where you can intervene. In that gap, you perform a simple but profound act of mental subtraction. Strip away the narrative of what it means about you, or your future, or your worth. What remains is the bare, unadorned fact. This is not about suppressing emotion, but about seeing so clearly that the emotion loses its fuel. Think of a recent event that upset you. Now, separate the pure event from your interpretation of it. What were the objective facts before you began telling yourself the story? This space between a trigger and your response is where your true freedom resides. The Stoics identified a specific mental action that occurs in this gap, a power they called assent. Assent is your deliberate yes or no to any initial impression that enters your mind. It is the gatekeeper of your inner peace. When a stressful thought appears, you are not obligated to welcome it in as truth. You hold the power to simply observe it and let it pass by. Epictetus offered a timeless reminder, stating that people are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them. Your automatic judgment that a situation is terrible is just that, a judgment. It is not an unchangeable fact. Stress floods in when we automatically, without a second thought, agree with that initial negative assessment. We give it our full endorsement, and then we live out the consequences of that rushed agreement. Imagine receiving a brief message from a close friend that simply reads, "We need to talk." The immediate impression might suggest that you have done something wrong, that they are upset, or that the friendship is in question. If you give your immediate assent to that story, your entire body tenses. Your mind races through a gallery of past experiences. You spend hours in a state of anxious anticipation. But what if, in that crucial pause, you withheld your assent? You observe the thought, "We need to talk," means I am in trouble, but you do not sign the approval form. You question it. The bare facts are 3 words on a screen and a sender's name. Everything else is a story you are telling yourself. By pausing, you create the room to consider other, more neutral or even positive interpretations. Perhaps your friend wants your advice on an exciting opportunity. Maybe they simply want to catch up. The situation itself has not changed, but your entire internal experience has been transformed from a storm of worry to a state of calm curiosity. That pause is the lever that shifts your reality. Where in your own daily interactions could you insert this deliberate moment of hesitation before automatically agreeing with a stressful thought? Yet this deliberate pause before we react is only one part of the fortress. A deeper, more powerful practice prepares you for the storms long before the clouds even appear. Our modern world relentlessly encourages the pursuit of comfort and security, promising that happiness lies in acquiring more and losing less. The Stoics proposed a radical alternative. They called it premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of challenges. This is not a pessimistic exercise in expecting difficulty. It is a courageous training of the mind to accept that change and transition are woven into the fabric of life itself. Seneca wrote powerfully on this, advising, "He robs present ills of their power who has perceived their coming beforehand." By mentally rehearsing the potential shift in the things we value, we disarm the event of its element of surprise and its capacity to disturb our peace. Think of it as a preparation for the spirit. You introduce a small, controlled dose of a challenging thought, and in doing so, you build up your inner resilience for future experience. This practice transforms your relationship with what you have right now. When you consciously reflect on the fact that your health, your connections, or your belongings are not permanent, you do not fall into sorrow. Instead, you are filled with a profound sense of gratitude for their presence in this very moment. The simple act of holding your phone and considering that it could one day no longer serve you suddenly makes you appreciate its function and convenience more deeply. The thought of a loved one's natural journey, however distant, can make a casual dinner conversation feel infinitely precious. This is the alchemy of thoughtful reflection. It turns the awareness of impermanence into a powerful engine for present-moment appreciation. So what is one thing you deeply cherish that you could practice releasing in your mind today, just for a moment, to strengthen your gratitude and your tranquility? Regret pulls us backward into what we cannot change, while anxiety drags us forward into what we cannot predict. This division of attention is a primary source of our stress, leaving very little of our mental energy for the only time that is truly ours, the present moment. The Stoics understood that tranquility is not found in rewriting the past or controlling the future, but in fully inhabiting the now. This is the fifth principle, the anchor of the present moment. Marcus Aurelius wrote a powerful instruction to himself: do every act of your life as if it were your last, laying aside all carelessness and passionate aversion to the commands of reason. He was not being dramatic but practical. He was confining his entire attention to the present task, because that is the only place where his reason and his actions could ever be effectively applied. Your power to live well, to act with virtue, to find peace, exists only in this single, fleeting moment. The past is a memory, the future is an expectation, but the present is your point of contact with reality. When you are fully here, the noisy commentary of what was and what might be simply falls away. A powerful way to train this mental muscle is through the simplest of daily routines. The next time you wash a dish, do not just rush through it to get to the next thing. Feel the warmth of the water on your skin. Notice the texture of the bubbles and the sound of the plate being cleaned. When you walk from your car to a building, do not get lost in your mental checklist. Feel the solid ground beneath your feet. Notice the temperature of the air and the simple rhythm of your breath. In these mundane actions, you are not just washing a dish or taking a walk. You are practicing the profound art of presence. You are reclaiming your mind from the phantom territories of past and future and planting it firmly in the tangible now. This is where stress dissolves, because stress cannot live in a mind that is completely occupied with what is directly in front of it. Can you identify one routine activity today where you will make this commitment to be fully present, setting aside the weight of what has been and the worry of what is to come? Peace often feels like something we must protect from discomfort, but Stoicism suggests a surprising alternative. The sixth principle invites you to willingly step into small challenges, to seek out manageable difficulties as a way of building an unshakable core. This is the practice of voluntary discomfort, a training method for the soul. The Roman teacher Musonius Rufus explained this idea clearly, stating that practicing hardship is necessary if you want to be prepared for unexpected challenges. He saw it as essential training, like a soldier drilling in times of peace. You are not punishing yourself, you are preparing. By occasionally choosing a cool shower over a warm one, or skipping a meal you could easily have, you are sending a powerful message to your own mind. You are demonstrating in a small and controlled way that you can handle more than you think. This builds a resilience reserve, a deep well of inner strength that makes the inevitable surprises of life feel far less intimidating. When a real difficulty arrives, like a sudden financial pressure or an unexpected professional shift, your foundation is already solid. You have already shown yourself that comfort is not a requirement for your peace. The fear of losing your comforts begins to loosen its grip, because you have already faced smaller versions of that experience and discovered you remain whole. A simple way to start is on your next short drive. Choose to turn off the heater and sit with the cooler air for a few minutes. In that small act, you are not just feeling a chill, you are actively training your capacity for acceptance. You are reminding yourself that your well-being is not dependent on a perfect temperature. So what small comfort could you voluntarily set aside this week to show yourself that you are far stronger than your circumstances? Worry often pretends to be problem-solving, but the two are very different. Problem-solving is a focused and active process, moving you step by step toward a solution. Worry is a passive and circular state, trapping you in a mental loop of what-ifs. The Stoics drew a clear line here, insisting that true excellence lies not in endless thinking, but in purposeful and meaningful action. Once you have used the idea of control to separate your own sphere of influence from the wide ocean of external events, your only remaining duty is to act well within that space. The outcome itself is not your main concern. Epictetus put it simply, stating, "In life our first job is this, to divide and distinguish things into two categories. Externals I cannot control, and the choices I make with regard to them I do control. Where then do I look for good and evil? Not to uncontrollable externals, but within myself to the choices that are my own. Your power resides entirely in your efforts, in the character you bring to your actions, not in the results those actions produce." Imagine you are preparing for a challenging conversation with a family member. The unhelpful path is to spend hours anxiously rehearsing every possible thing they might say, feeling your stomach tighten with each imagined difficult reaction. This is worry, and it lives entirely in the territory of what you cannot control, their feelings and their response. The Stoic path is to shift your focus to what is within your influence. You can prepare to speak with honesty and kindness. You can choose to listen patiently. You can resolve to maintain your own calm regardless of the emotional currents in the room. Your meaningful action is to enter that conversation with integrity. Whether the other person hears you, agrees with you, or becomes upset, that is their domain. By committing fully to the action itself, you free yourself from the exhausting weight of needing a specific outcome. Your peace is no longer held by another person's choices. So ask yourself this: where in your life are you substituting the frantic energy of worry for a single, concrete, and meaningful step you could take right now? Your individual worries are real, but their size depends entirely on the frame you place around them. There is a powerful Stoic exercise designed to expand that frame to its absolute limit, a mental shift known as the view from above. This is a form of meditation where you consciously pull your perspective back, far beyond the confines of your own life, to see your place in the vast theater of the cosmos. Marcus Aurelius regularly practiced this, writing in his private thoughts to look at the world and see it for what it is, a mere grain of sand in the universe, and your own life as the briefest moment upon it. He was not diminishing the value of life, but rather placing its inevitable difficulties into a context so grand that their sharp edges naturally soften. From this elevated vantage point, the project that feels overwhelmingly urgent, the social slight that stings, the financial worry that keeps you awake, all of it is contained within a single tiny point in an unimaginably large and ancient universe. This practice does not make your life meaningless, it makes your stress manageable. It invites a quiet humility that is profoundly calming. To try this for yourself, find a quiet moment and bring a current concern to mind. First, visualize your own room, then imagine pulling your perspective up through the ceiling, seeing your entire building, then your neighborhood. Watch as your city becomes a patchwork of lights, your country a shape on a globe, and the earth itself a beautiful, fragile blue marble drifting in the black silence of space. All of human history, every triumph and every heartbreak has occurred on that single sphere. Now look back at your initial worry. Notice how its weight has shifted. The problem itself may still require your attention, but its power to overwhelm your entire being has been gently put in its place. This is the gift of perspective. It allows you to engage with life's challenges without being consumed by them, So take a mental step back from a current stressor. How does its significance change when you see it from the grand stillness of the cosmos? Freedom is secured not by the fulfillment of one's desires, but by the removal of desire. This powerful insight from Epictetus points us toward the ninth principle, the discipline of desire. So much of our internal turmoil stems from an endless chase, from wanting things that are perpetually just out of reach or that may not even serve our deeper well-being. The Stoics proposed a thoughtful solution, not in getting everything you want, but in learning to want only what is truly good for you and what is firmly within your power. This is the discipline of desire, the practice of aligning your deepest wants with what is virtuous and entirely up to you. When your desires are perfectly matched to your own choices and efforts, you can never be disappointed. The craving for an outcome you cannot guarantee is replaced by the quiet satisfaction of knowing you have done your best. Consider the common wish for a promotion at work. The external reward, the new title, the increased salary, these depend on the decisions of others, on market conditions, on 100 factors outside your command. To hinge your happiness on securing that specific outcome is to build your house on shifting sand. The Stoic realignment is to transfer your desire inward. Your true object of desire becomes performing your current duties with excellence, with integrity, and with focused diligence. You want to be the kind of person who earns a promotion, regardless of whether it is ever officially granted. The intense need for the external reward dissolves, and in its place is a calm, steady commitment to the quality of your own work. This is how you secure your freedom, by no longer being held hostage by wants that others can grant or deny. What is one thing you deeply desire that, upon honest reflection, lies entirely outside your complete control? Now, how can you gently shift the focus of that desire from the distant prize to the integrity of your own actions and efforts in this very moment? Love your fate. This simple, profound command is the ultimate expression of Stoic tranquility. The ancients called it amor fati, a love of one's destiny. It is more than mere acceptance, more than gritting your teeth and enduring what life hands you. It is a radical, active embrace of every event, every obstacle, every twist in the road, viewing it all as necessary fuel for your growth and an integral part of a coherent whole. Marcus Aurelius guided his own spirit with this very idea, writing, "A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it." And a secret of the art of living is to make everything that happens, everything that is given you, into something of value, into a resource. See the world not as a series of random misfortunes to be resisted, but as a perfect curriculum designed for your specific development. When you practice amor fati, complaint and resistance lose their power over you. The flat tire is no longer a ruinous delay, but an invitation to practice patience and problem solving. The cancelled plan is not a lonely evening, but a gift of unexpected quiet for reflection. This is the final stage of cognitive reframing, where you stop seeing the world as happening to you and start seeing it as happening for you. Think of a recent minor inconvenience that frustrated you, perhaps a last-minute change at work or a household appliance that stopped working. Now, challenge yourself to actively list 3 potential hidden benefits or lessons that situation contained. Did it force you to learn a new skill? Did it reveal a source of support you had overlooked? Did it simply teach you the value of flexibility? Can you identify one recent difficulty that you can practice loving by consciously seeking the opportunity hidden within its challenge? Your mind is a fortress, and its walls are built from your reasoned judgments. No outside event, no chaotic situation, no critical remark can cross its threshold unless you personally lower the drawbridge and allow it in. This is the Stoic idea of the inner citadel, a personal mental space of clarity and strength that remains undisturbed by the turbulence beyond. Marcus Aurelius described this inner sanctuary beautifully, writing, "People look for retreats for themselves in the country, by the coast, or in the hills. But this is altogether unphilosophical when you can at any moment retreat into your own mind. Nowhere is there a more peaceful or less crowded retreat." True calm is not the absence of noise, but the state of this inner sanctuary being well tended, its boundaries upheld by your mindful presence. The world may raise its voice, but inside your own mind, you hold the final say over what lingers in its quiet halls. To strengthen this inner steadiness, you can create a simple mental signal, a gentle reminder that calls you back to your center. This might be something as natural as taking one deep, conscious breath. The moment you notice the first signs of tension, the first stirring of frustration or unease, you pause and take that breath. In that single gesture, you are not just breathing in air, you are quietly closing the gates. You are reminding yourself that you have a choice, that you hold an inner place of stillness, and that you are its only keeper. Each time you use this gentle signal, you strengthen the boundaries of your own peace. What is one outside influence, a recurring concern, or a sharp remark that you might practice gently turning away from your inner sanctuary today? Each day ends, and we often let it simply fade into memory. The Stoics, however, saw the transition from day to night as a meaningful opportunity for growth and release. They practiced a deliberate ritual known as the evening examination, a quiet conversation with oneself to process the day's events with thoughtful clarity. Seneca emphasized this practice, writing that the mind should be called to give an account of itself every day. What habit have you improved today? What challenge have you navigated? In what way are you moving forward? This was not an exercise in harsh self-judgment, but a gentle and honest review of one's own path. Its purpose was twofold: to recognize moments where you lived in harmony with your values, and to observe with calm awareness where you strayed from your intended direction. This brief review becomes a powerful mechanism for continuous learning, a way to gather insight from the day without carrying its weight into your rest. It is how you let go of gathered tensions and prepare for a new beginning with a clear and quiet mind. A simple three-question structure can guide this practice. First, ask yourself, what did I do well today? This is not about grand achievements, but about small victories of character. Perhaps you responded with patience in a difficult moment, or you chose to focus on a task within your influence. Acknowledging this strengthens those positive patterns. The second question is, what could I have done differently? Approach this with the curiosity of a scientist studying information, not the judgment of a critic. Maybe you noticed a moment of frustration in a conversation, or you spent time concerned about an outcome you could not change. Simply note the instance as a point of learning. Finally, ask, what did I learn? This question transforms every experience, even the challenging ones, into a resource for wisdom. You might have learned that a particular situation invites a certain response, or that taking a brief pause before speaking shifts the entire tone of an exchange. By closing your day with these few minutes of reflection, you are not just recounting events, you are actively weaving the threads of your experience into a stronger, more resilient character. Will you commit to a 5-minute evening review tonight to process the day's events with thoughtful clarity? We often wrap our identities so tightly around our titles and possessions that we forget they are merely costumes we wear, not our actual skin. This deep attachment to external labels is a quiet source of constant anxiety, a fragile foundation for a sense of self that can shift with a single change in circumstance. The Stoics offered a powerful mental exercise to dissolve this dependency, a practice of seeing through the labels to the simple, unadorned reality beneath. They called this looking at the physical definition of a thing. It is the act of mentally setting aside the prestigious name, the expensive price tag, the symbolic status, and observing the object or the role for its fundamental, tangible components. Epictetus, who understood profound shifts in personal circumstance, grasped this separation with great clarity. He reminded his students, it is not the things themselves that disturb people, but their judgments about these things. You are not your fine china, you are a person who uses dishes. You are not your job title, you are a conscious being performing a set of tasks. Your true worth cannot be measured by anything that can be given or taken away by the outside world. Consider the label of manager. When you cling to it as your identity, a corporate restructuring can feel like a personal challenge. But when you see it through the Stoic lens, what remains? You are a person who coordinates projects, offers guidance to colleagues, and organizes workflows. These are actions and relationships, not a title on a business card. The role can be reassigned, but your capacity for coordination, guidance, and organization is part of your skill set, your inner resource. The anxiety softens because your core value was never truly in the label itself. This practice is a gentle liberation. It allows you to engage fully with your roles and possessions without being owned by them. You can enjoy your home without it defining you. You can perform your job with excellence without needing the title to validate your contribution. What external label, perhaps as a manager, a homeowner, or a high achiever, do you hold that, if you mentally set it aside, would reveal a more resilient and fundamentally tranquil self waiting beneath? Our deepest anxieties often bloom from a single seed, the desperate need for a specific outcome. We attach our sense of worth and our peace of mind to a future result that dangles just beyond our control, a prize we can never fully guarantee. The Stoics proposed a radical shift in focus, one that moves our center of gravity from that distant, uncertain prize to the one thing we can truly command, the quality of our own actions in the present moment. This is the principle of focusing on process, not outcomes. Your fulfillment is meant to be found in acting with virtue and integrity right now, while holding the final result with a light and open hand. Seneca captured this perfectly when he wrote that the wise person is content with their honest efforts, regardless of their success. They find their reward in the doing itself, in knowing they have done what is right, leaving the rest to fate. Consider a dedicated athlete. If their entire sense of self is tied to winning a championship, their entire journey becomes a nerve-wracking countdown to a single day. Every practice is shadowed by the possibility of falling short, but if that same athlete shifts their focus entirely to their process, everything changes. Their fulfillment comes from the integrity of their daily training, from pushing their limits with discipline, from executing their skills to the best of their ability during the game itself. The final score becomes information, not a verdict on their worth. They control their effort and their attitude, not the final number on the board. This is the profound liberation of the process mindset. The stress of attachment to an outcome is replaced by the quiet satisfaction of committed action. Think of a goal you are actively pursuing right now. Can you, just for today, shift your entire attention to the quality of your actions, to the integrity of your very next step, and gently release the tight grip on your need for a specific result? The universe operates not on chaos, but on a profound and intelligent order the Stoics called logos. This is the rational principle weaving through all of nature, a current of cause and effect that gives structure to everything from the orbit of planets to the growth of a single leaf. Our stress often begins as a quiet rebellion against this fundamental flow, a futile effort to command the river's direction instead of learning to navigate its waters. Marcus Aurelius gently counseled himself on this, writing, "Accept whatever comes to you woven in the pattern of your destiny, for what could more aptly fit your needs?" This is not a call for passive resignation, but for active trust. It is the recognition that fighting the inevitable is an exhausting battle you were never meant to win. Understanding nature's way means seeing that every event, even the difficult and unexpected ones, are threads in a larger tapestry you cannot fully see from your single vantage point. A tree does not struggle against the arrival of autumn. It simply allows its leaves to change color and fall, conserving its energy for the winter ahead. It trusts the cycle completely. In our own lives, we can practice this same trust. Consider a personal transition you might be resisting, perhaps a change in a relationship or a shift in your career path. Struggling against this natural evolution is like trying to hold back the season itself. The practice is to pause and ask, what if this change is not a disruption, but the next necessary phase in my own growth? Where in your life are you currently swimming against the current of nature, and what would it feel like to simply turn and flow with it instead? This profound sense of connection leads us to a Stoic practice that dissolves the illusion of separation. The ancient Stoics spoke of sympatheia, the fundamental interdependence of all things. They saw the universe not as a collection of isolated objects, but as a single, living organism where every part is woven into a shared fabric. When you feel the weight of a personal struggle, it is easy to believe you are carrying it entirely alone. Sympatheia reminds you that you are a single thread in a vast and intricate tapestry. Your stress, when viewed through this lens, is not a solitary burden but a note in a universal symphony of human experience. Marcus Aurelius reflected on this from his own position of immense responsibility, writing, "What brings no benefit to the hive brings none to the bee." Your well-being is inextricably linked to the whole. Recognizing this mutual interdependence softens the hard edges of personal anxiety. The frustration you feel in a traffic jam is no longer just your private irritation. It is a shared moment of delay for hundreds of others, each with their own destination and concerns. This shift in perspective is a powerful antidote to isolation. It fosters a natural and generous compassion, both for others and for yourself, because you begin to see that everyone is navigating their own private challenges. A simple way to cultivate this feeling is the next time you are in a public space, look at a stranger, anyone at all, and for just a moment, consciously reflect on the fact that they possess a rich and complex inner world. They have known disappointment and joy, they think often about their loved ones, they hold personal hopes, and they feel concern, just as you do. This person is not merely an obstacle or a background character in your story. They are a living center of their own universe, connected to you by the simple fact of shared existence. How does remembering your deep connection to all of humanity change your perspective on a personal challenge you are facing right now? Constant noise has become the background music of our lives. From the moment we wake to the alerts on our phones, to the endless stream of media filling our evenings, our minds are rarely given a moment of true quiet. This steady stream of external stimulation fuels a corresponding internal chatter, a swirl of reactions and reflections that can leave us feeling drained and distant from our own center. The Stoics saw great value in deliberately stepping away from this constant input. They practiced regular silence and solitude not as a form of escape, but as an essential discipline for mental clarity. This was a purposeful return to the quiet of one's own mind, a space to let the dust of daily impressions settle and to reconnect with the calm voice of inner reason. Seneca wrote thoughtfully about this need, advising, "You must retreat into yourself as much as possible. Associate with people who are likely to improve you. Welcome those whom you are capable of improving." The process is mutual, for people learn while they are teaching. His words show that this quiet reflection is not about being alone, but about becoming a more grounded person for your own good, and for the good of those around you. It is in the quiet that we process our experiences, sort through our thoughts, and return to the world with fresh clarity and purpose. A simple and meaningful way to nurture this is to begin a daily practice of just 5 minutes of pure silence. Find a comfortable chair, perhaps in the morning before the day begins or in the evening as it winds down. Leave all devices in another room, close your eyes, and simply be with your own breath. The goal is not to empty your mind or reach a special state, but to sit as an observer of your own thoughts without being carried away by them. In that brief, device-free pause, you are not doing nothing. You are actively restoring your connection to your own peaceful center. When can you set aside a few minutes of pure silence today to step back from the busyness and come back to yourself? Sometimes the most effective way to disarm a looming fear is to invite it fully into the light and examine its true size. The Stoics practiced a powerful form of mental exposure therapy by deliberately visualizing the most challenging scenario, not to dwell in pessimism, but to reveal a profound truth about the weight we assign to our endeavors. This is the exercise in futility, a perspective-shifting tool that asks you to project a current anxiety far into the future and observe how its significance inevitably fades. Marcus Aurelius regularly returned to this thought, reminding himself that in a little while you will have forgotten everything. In a little while everything will have forgotten you. He was not dismissing the value of his work, but placing it within the vast, quiet context of time itself. This practice is a deliberate recalibration of scale. When you are consumed with preparing a critical presentation, your entire world can shrink to that single hour. The pressure builds, your heart races, every word feels heavy with consequence. Now pause and perform the exercise. Close your eyes and imagine with calm detachment that you give the presentation and it is entirely unremarkable. It is neither praised nor criticized. It is simply forgotten by everyone in the room by the following week. Then stretch the timeline further. See the conference room 100 years from now, perhaps repurposed or even gone, with no memory remaining of your words or your presence there. Notice what happens in your body when you hold this thought. The tightness in your chest may soften. The frantic energy often gives way to a quiet, almost amused sense of relief. The stakes you had constructed begin to feel less absolute. This is not about cultivating apathy, but about freeing yourself from the suffocating grip of self-importance. By consciously acknowledging the possibility of a modest outcome or eventual obscurity, you reclaim the space to act for the sake of the action itself, for the integrity of the effort, rather than for a specific, demanding result. What important seeming task in your life could you apply this futility filter to, allowing the excessive stress surrounding it to gently dissipate? Gratitude is a quiet rebellion against the endless hunger for more. The Stoics framed this not as a simple feeling of thanks, but as a disciplined practice of clear sight, a conscious recognition of the bounty that nature provides in every single moment. This is gratitude revisited, not as passive appreciation, but as an active defense against the stress of wanting. When you are genuinely thankful for what you have, the frantic need for what you lack simply loses its grip. Epictetus, who understood the value of having very little, offered a powerful perspective. He said, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has." This rejoicing is a choice, a mental stance that transforms your entire field of vision from one of scarcity to one of profound provision. The true Stoic twist, however, lies in extending this gratitude beyond the comforts and joys, directly into the heart of your challenges. An obstacle is not an interruption to your peace, it is the raw material for building a stronger version of it. The difficult colleague becomes a teacher of patience. The financial pressure becomes a lesson in resourcefulness. The personal transition, though deeply felt, can reveal hidden depths of resilience you never knew you possessed. To cultivate this deeper gratitude, a simple morning ritual can rewire your entire day. Before the world makes its demands, take a quiet moment to write down 3 specific things you are grateful for. The first 2 can be anything: the warmth of your bed, the sound of birds outside, a friend's kindness. But make the third one a potential obstacle you foresee, and find the hidden gift within it. You might write, "I am grateful for this demanding project at work because it is stretching my abilities and forcing me to grow." Or, "I am grateful for this morning's hectic rush because it is teaching me to maintain my calm in the midst of chaos." This practice does not dismiss the difficulty, but it masterfully reframes it, turning a source of stress into a source of strength. What is one difficulty in your life right now that you can find a way to be genuinely grateful for? Our deepest ambitions often hold our peace of mind for ransom. We commit to a goal with such fierce attachment that any deviation from the desired path feels like a personal failure. Stoicism offers a subtle but profound mental technique to engage with your aims fully, yet without this inner devastation. This is the practice known as the reserve clause, an internal addendum of fate permitting to every single one of your undertakings. You plan and you act with your complete effort and focus, while simultaneously holding in your heart a quiet acceptance that the final outcome is not yours to command alone. This is not a half-hearted effort, it is a wholehearted engagement with a light grip on the result. Seneca captured this balanced stance perfectly, writing, "The willing are led by fate, the resisting are dragged." You commit entirely to the action itself, while gracefully yielding to the larger currents of life that may alter the destination. Think of planning an important outdoor gathering. You do everything within your power. You check the forecast, you arrange the seating, you prepare the food, you act with decisive intention. Yet, in the back of your mind, you hold the gentle reservation, fate permitting, the weather will hold. This mental clause means that if the clouds gather and the rain falls, your peace is not washed away with the event. You are disappointed, certainly, but not shattered, because you never held an absolute claim on the sunshine. Your effort was pure, but the outcome belonged to a wider world. This is the secret to pursuing ambitions without being broken by them. Your effort remains under your control, while the result is entrusted to the flow of nature. To what current plan or goal can you add the reserve clause today, engaging with it more freely and peacefully? Stoic philosophy draws a line in the sand between what truly matters and what simply exists. This brings us to a term that often causes confusion, the idea of indifference. In the Stoic framework, an indifferent, or adiaphora, is anything that is not inherently good or bad. Your health, your financial standing, your public reputation, these are all classified as indifference. This does not mean they are unimportant or that you should not care about them at all. It means they do not determine your moral worth or your capacity for a good life. They are preferred or dispreferred, but they are not the true good. The only true good is virtue, your own excellent character, your integrity, your wisdom, and your justice. Everything else is simply material for you to practice that virtue upon. Epictetus made this distinction with absolute clarity. He taught that some things are up to us and some are not up to us. Our judgments, our impulses, our desires, our aversions, in a word, whatever is our own doing, are up to us. Our body, our property, our reputation, our public office, in a word, whatever is not our own doing, are not up to us. Your choice is your domain. The outcome of that choice, the external result, belongs to the world. Understanding this completely rewires your relationship with the things you want. Take money, for example. To pursue wealth through honest work, to use it to provide for your family and contribute to your community, is a perfectly reasonable preferred indifferent. There is no virtue in poverty for its own sake. The error occurs when you grant that money the power to govern your inner peace. If you see its loss as a personal difficulty, if your happiness fluctuates with your bank balance, then you have mistaken an external tool for an internal necessity. You have handed the keys to your tranquility over to something that can be taken away. The goal is to engage with these preferred things fully, but to hold them lightly, as if you were a temporary steward, not a permanent owner. Their presence can be comfortable, their absence can be challenging, but neither condition can touch the core of who you are if that core is built on virtue. So pause and ask yourself this reflective question. What preferred indifferent in your own life, perhaps your job title, your social standing, or your physical fitness, have you been treating as an absolute necessity for your peace of mind? Modern culture often treats the end of life as a distant, abstract concept, something to be hidden away and rarely discussed. Stoicism turns this avoidance on its head with the practice of memento mori, a Latin phrase meaning remember you must die. This is not a morbid fascination with endings, but the ultimate tool for clarifying your priorities and infusing the present moment with a profound sense of urgency and appreciation. To remember your own finitude is to install a powerful filter for your attention, one that instantly shrinks trivial worries and magnifies what is truly meaningful. Marcus Aurelius framed this as a practical question for daily living, urging himself to do every act of your life as if it were your last. He was not suggesting a life of frantic activity, but one of deep focus and intention, free from the distractions of petty concerns. When you consciously hold the awareness that your time is limited, the frustration of a long line, the sting of a minor criticism, the anxiety over a small imperfection, all of it loses its weight. These concerns simply cannot survive in the bright, clear light of that ultimate perspective. A simple way to weave this practice into your day is to choose a small, symbolic object for your desk or your pocket. A smooth stone, a particular coin, or even a dried leaf can serve as a gentle, tactile reminder of life's natural cycle. Each time you see or touch this object, let it bring you back to a single, grounding question. If you were to live today with the conscious awareness that it could be your last, what would you do differently? What stresses would suddenly seem insignificant? And what simple beauties would you finally allow yourself to fully see? True resilience is not forged in the moment of crisis, but in the quiet moments of preparation that precede it. The Stoics mastered a powerful strategy known as pre-rehearsal, a mental discipline of walking through potential difficulties long before they arrive. This is not about fearful worry or pessimistic forecasting. It is the deliberate, calm act of visualizing a future challenge in vivid detail and, most importantly, scripting your own virtuous response. You are inoculating your mind against the shock of the unexpected. Seneca captured the profound benefit of this practice perfectly, writing that the person who has anticipated the coming of troubles takes away their power when they arrive. By meeting a difficulty in your mind first, you strip it of its element of surprise, the very thing that often triggers panic and clouded judgment. Consider a common modern stressor, the frustration of being stuck in an unexpected traffic jam. Without any mental preparation, the experience can feel like a personal attack on your schedule. Your body tenses, your grip tightens on the steering wheel, and your mind fills with frustrated thoughts about the cause and the consequences. Now apply the Stoic pre-rehearsal. In a moment of quiet, perhaps during your morning routine, you consciously bring this scenario to mind. You visualize the brake lights ahead. You feel the car come to a stop. But then you script your response. You decide that your calm is more important than your punctuality in this moment. You choose to use the time not for fuming, but for listening to a meaningful piece of music or an insightful talk. You focus on your breathing, acknowledging that this delay is entirely outside your control, and that your only remaining power is to govern your own reaction with patience. When the event actually happens, it feels strangely familiar. It is not a novel catastrophe, but a situation for which you already have a plan. The emotional charge is gone, replaced by a calm execution of a pre-considered strategy. So, what predictable stressor is coming up in your week that you can pre-rehearse with a stoic response today? Our deepest arguments often begin as a quiet whisper in our own minds. We are convinced that our interpretation of an event is the only valid one, and from that rigid stance, a world of internal conflict is born. The Stoics identified this as a primary source of our distress, not the events themselves, but the unyielding opinions we cement around them. This is the 24th principle, the liberation from opinion. It is the profound realization that the stories we tell ourselves are just that, stories. They are mental constructs we have the power to assemble and, more importantly, to gently take apart. Marcus Aurelius offered a direct path to this freedom, writing, "If you are pained by any external thing, it is not this thing that disturbs you, but your own judgment about it. And it is in your power to wipe out that judgment now. Your opinion is not a stone monument, it is a pattern of thought, and you hold the chisel. Consider the heat of a political disagreement." When you are deeply invested in your position, seeing it as an absolute truth, the discussion becomes a battle for your very identity. Every counterpoint feels like a personal challenge. Your heart rate increases, your body tenses, and your focus narrows to winning the argument. Now, imagine entering that same conversation with a different internal stance. You hold your view, but you hold it lightly, like a tool rather than a weapon. You see the other person's perspective not as a threat, but as a different collection of experiences and reasoning. You can engage, discuss, and even disagree, all while maintaining an inner calm because your sense of self is no longer tied to the outcome of the debate. The goal shifts from being right to understanding more deeply. This mental space is the essence of tranquility. It is the freedom that comes from knowing your opinions are yours to change, to refine, or to release entirely. What is one strong opinion you hold that, if you held it more lightly, would significantly reduce your daily stress levels? These separate tools are in fact one unified system. The hidden framework for tranquility is not a collection of random tips, but a deeply integrated mental architecture where each principle supports and activates the others. Think of it as your mind's own resilient operating system. The principle of control provides the foundational code, the fundamental distinction between your inner world and the outer world. Without this, you are constantly trying to debug the entire internet instead of securing your own device. The art of clear perception and the pause of thoughtful response are your active firewalls, filtering incoming data before it can install a feeling of distress. And the guidance of intention, the practice of embracing what is. This is the user who operates the entire system with wisdom, who chooses to see every event as necessary information for growth. They are not standalone applications you open one at a time. They run continuously in the background, a synergistic process that collectively rewires your entire stress response. Consider a single professional moment, a project that did not receive the approval you had hoped for. The principle of control immediately delineates the territory. The final decision was an external event outside your command. Your preparation, your effort, and your choice of response remain firmly within your domain. Clear perception then strips the event of its catastrophic story. You are not seeing a career-ending failure, but a simple outcome, a no. The pause of thoughtful response allows you to observe the initial thought, "They think I am inadequate," without automatically agreeing with it. This creates the space for embracing what is to then work its deepest magic. You can actively welcome this outcome not as a defeat, but as essential feedback woven into your path. It reveals where your skills can be refined, or perhaps redirects your energy toward a more fitting opportunity. The framework did not just help you manage the moment. It transformed the moment into the very material for your progress. How might you see the principles of control and a welcoming of what unfolds working together to reshape a single challenge you are facing right now? Stoic tranquility is a destination you approach forever, not a finish line you ever cross. This philosophy offers no magic switch to erase stress, but a path you walk for a lifetime. The Roman teacher Epictetus, who understood the nature of challenge, offered a clear perspective. He said that the road to freedom is long and difficult, and you must be content to advance by small steps. Expecting immediate perfection is the surest way to feel disappointment. You will have days where a sharp remark still stings, where a sudden change in plans still brings a wave of frustration. These are not failures, they are your most valuable learning moments, revealing exactly where your practice needs to deepen. Each moment of impatience is a lesson in where to cultivate more patience. Every flare of anxiety is a signal to revisit the art of clear perception. This journey of self-mastery is not measured by a flawless record, but by the gradual widening of that space between a trigger and your response. Aim to be a proficient Stoic, not a perfect one. Your goal is not to never feel stress, but to notice it sooner, understand its roots more clearly, and return to your center more swiftly each time. This is a progressive path where every single day offers a new opportunity to practice, to learn, and to grow just a little stronger. Are you willing to commit to the ongoing practice of this framework, accepting that progress, not perfection, is the goal? Tranquility is not a calm sea you discover, but the resilient vessel you build to navigate any waters. It is an internal state, a quiet harbor within your own mind, constructed through a disciplined framework of perception, judgment, and action. This is the hidden architecture that transforms how you experience stress. It begins with the foundational distinction of the dichotomy of control, teaching you where to direct your precious energy. It deepens with the art of objective perception, learning to see events as they are, not as your fears paint them. It culminates in the profound embrace of amor fati, loving your fate, and the clarifying perspective of memento mori, remembering what truly matters. These are not separate tricks, but a unified system for reclaiming your inner world. The Roman philosopher Seneca offered a final, powerful insight into the source of this peace, writing, "The mind that is anxious about future events is miserable. But for the person who is everywhere, there is no place of fear. Trust in your own reasoned mind becomes the ultimate sanctuary. Every challenge you face, every moment of pressure or unexpected change, is not an obstacle to your peace. It is the very training ground for it. It is the raw material provided for you to practice these principles and forge an unshakable calm. We invite you to continue this journey with us. If this path of practical wisdom resonates with you, consider subscribing for more guidance, and we would be grateful to hear from you in the comments below. Which single principle from our exploration has begun to reshape your own response to stress?